public address announcer for the Philadelphia Union. On the line, Kevin Casey. Kevin, how you doing today?
Great, guys. How are you?
We are absolutely fantastic. Fun to hear you back calling the games. Jeff's going to start. He's got a question for you.
Yeah, Kevin, we know about all the stuff you do around soccer, but what people don't realize, I think, about you is that you are a world man when it comes to history and knowledge, and you actually teach U.S. history, right?
I do, Jeff. Yes, that's
right.
a high bar to try to raise to, though. I'm going to tell you that right now.
All right. Well,
he hasn't asked a new question yet.
Yeah, that's right. As a U.S. history teacher, we're going to ask you a sports U.S. history question. You ready for this?
Oh, dear Lord. Yeah, go ahead.
All right. What sports Hall of Fame enshrined Abraham Lincoln?
What sports Hall of Fame enshrined Abraham Lincoln? Now, I'm going to give you a teacher trick. Is you divert when you don't know the answer, and I will tell you that I am aware that Benjamin Franklin is in the Swimming Hall of Fame.
Kevin,
for creating wooden flippers.
Jeff is an attorney, and he doesn't like to let people divert from.
No. I just learned something. Let him go. I want to hear who else is in the Sports Hall of Fame that we don't know.
See, this is what happens when I have no idea of the answer of what the Hall of Fame Abraham Lincoln is in. I'm going to go and tell you what I do know. And yeah, so Benjamin Franklin created these wooden flippers that sort of allowed you to make your way through the water and put them on your hands. And for that, he is enshrined in the Swimming Hall of Fame. But I'm going to go ahead and it's 1860s, right? So it can't be the Baseball Hall of Fame.
Nope.
I don't know, guys. Tell me.
You want to phone a friend? He was in the National Wrestling Hall of Fame. He lost one match out of like 300.
That can't be true. Is that real?
We made sure to double check it. I'll send you the link afterwards to 10 things you may not know about Abraham Lincoln, and it's the first thing I was shocked to, believe me. But Jeff got all excited.
Awesome.
Jeff got all excited when he saw you were a history teacher, and he's like, "Oh, we got to do this."
Yeah.
So,
listen, man, I wouldn't mess with Abraham Lincoln. He was kind of underweight though, a little bit though. So
you should see some of the quotes of him calling people out that they have in this story. You'll enjoy it. Let's get to your story a little bit. You're a man of the Philadelphia region. You've announced games for everybody from the Wings to the Kicks to the Camden River Sharks, college games, U.S. Soccer, now the Philadelphia Union. Tell me what it's like to announce for the Philadelphia fan base and what you've learned in that time.
It's been such a blessing, the journey that I've been on. It all started at Eastern University in Radnor, Pennsylvania. I was a sophomore around, 95, 96, and was sitting in the stands. I was playing college soccer up there, and at a men's basketball game, our athletic director was calling games, and I just asked him if I could give it a shot, and he said, sure, go ahead. And I had a buddy who was a DJ, and mid-'90s, that was the height of the ESPN Jock Jams, right? So we brought down some Jock Jam CDs, and I played some music and announced the starting five, and from there it just kind of blossomed. And the one thing that I'll always tell young people who are getting involved in the industry, and even students and things like that, it's imagine if I didn't have the courage to ask the athletic director if I could do that, all the cool things that I would have missed out on. So it's, you got to really blaze your own path and make your own way, and it starts by just asking, right? So, I've been blessed. I've been working with a lot of teams in the Philadelphia market, and I've been lucky enough here to sort of make my niche as the soccer guy in the area, which I love because I'm a soccer guy right now. I'm watching Bayern shred Barcelona right now in the quarters of the Champions League. So, I've been blessed, guys. It's been fun.
So one of the hard things about being a soccer announcer is pronunciation of the names. How much time do you spend working on pronunciations?
It's interesting, man. I would say that working in minor league baseball prepares you for anything because nothing is offered to you as helpful information. You sort of have to get everything on your own and make it up as you go along. And then it seems like as you work your way up the ladder, everything gets a little bit easier because more things are prepped for you. So actually, MLS matches are fairly easy because within the media notes on the roster next to the names are phonetic spellings of the names. And if you have any questions on those, there's usually a PR guy there from the team that you can ask him. Now, have worked national team games where that doesn't happen. So national team games get very tricky. We once had a match at I guess it was probably PPL Park then, and it was the Greek national team playing Nigeria, I believe. And I had a list of Greek names with long last names and no help on how to pronounce them. And we had the Union's color guy at that time, Peter Pappas. His grandfather or his father was from Greece, and we were in a room with him on the telephone asking how to say these names. So sometimes awesome. It's easier. I've had the Chinese national team, the women's national team, without any help on how to pronounce names. So that was a bit of a challenge in its own right. But I'm going to tell you a trick. Let me tell you a trick on how you say the names if you don't know how to say them.
Yes.
Just say it with confidence, because there's only 30% of the people that are really ever listening to you anyway. And if you say it confidently, nobody really knows you messed up.
Yeah, nobody really knows anyway, other than the player and the people on their team. I did have a question.
It's the old Bob Uecker euphemism. Nobody's listening anyway.
Yeah, no, but you're there. You don't make yourself the game, but you're there to kind of complement and accentuate the game. But when you weren't able to call games, you found some fun with your Life Without Soccer series, where you were calling everything from going to check the mail to you name it, with your kids dressing up in your game day attire. Tell us about that a little bit. You went to a Wendy's drive-through and ordered with your PA voice.
They were ridiculous, weren't they? But we had so much fun doing them. It started out as a lark. My 15-year-old daughter, it was the date back in March when the Union were to have had their home opener, and it got canceled. And she said, "Dad, wouldn't it be funny if we made a video, since you don't have anything to announce, of you just sort of walking around the house and announcing various things and dressed up in the suit and bow tie like I would wear to a Union match?" And so, before I knew it, she had talked me into not only announcing the empty mailbox, but going to a Starbucks, and in a crowded Starbucks, announcing the order of a drink from her friend. And, we sort of put that one out there, and it was well received. And then, we started to see the comments coming back in that, throughout the pandemic, it was like people were saying, "Thanks for giving us something to have something to smile about." And then it sort of became, within our family, kind of our pandemic mission to just make these crazy videos and give some people just something to smile about and take their mind off some of the things. And it got to the point where I was my favorite one was the one where we did the episode with Lou Nolan and Matt Cord and Tommy Smith helping out with it too. And we had Fang here at the house mowing the lawn for one episode, so it was a lot of fun to do.
Wait, how much do you pay Fang to mow the lawn?
I mean, I think it cost a pizza.
How does he eat it?
It was
ordering one right
a pizza
now.
or two, and he was happy. Yeah.
So we do have the return of soccer finally. The Union exceeded almost everyone's expectations in the MLS's back tourney, making it to the semifinals and losing a close one to the Portland Timber. What were your biggest takeaways of the team from that tournament experience?
I'll say one of my biggest takeaways, which I think is a change from what we've seen in the past, is this chemistry that we see within the team and consistency within the lineup. In the past, I just feel like we have always had different changes where you sort of, had different guys trying to fill different holes. And what I love about this team is we know, for the most part, when healthy, who's going to be filling out the 11. And I think because of that, we're seeing a chemistry within the team and a cohesiveness of how they're playing right now. And I think that's been kind of the most fun to see. Within the midfield, I really think it's been great to see Brendan Aronson develop. A couple of those passes that he made from the midfield in the tournament are, probably tickets into Europe at some point here. And so, watching him partner with Jamiro in the midfield has been great. Watching Andre Blake's play was inspiring because, we saw him look a little different in the playoffs at times. And so to see that level of consistency and just high level of play from him is something that going forward we should be excited about.
Even though the games weren't in the stadium here, there were some fans on the field, and I made sure to tune in on Twitter to hear you do the lineup introductions into the stadium. You did the goal calls. What was that like to give the feeling for the fans of what it would be like without actually having the game there in front of you?
I'll tell you, one of my favorite things of being part of this organization is the connection with the fan base. You know, I'm just a fan myself who happens to be given this platform to work the games on the PA, and so it's my goal to try to do everything I possibly can to give the fans sort of a connection to the game, and so I decided that I would try and do the Twitter live so that the fans could see the pregame videos on the board and hear the starting 11. And you know, I try to make the goal calls too to try and get everybody into it as well. So I'm going to continue to do it as long as they don't, as long as the fans aren't in the stadium. I'm going to try and do everything I can to make sure, you know, that there's a connection there with the fan base, because at the core, man, they're the heart of what we're doing. So whatever I can do on my small little part, I'm willing to do.
You know, you talked about Brenden Aaronson and the way that he played during this tournament and the possibility of him going overseas. That's been kind of the talk of the tournament, at least from the Union perspective. What have you seen about Brendan's growth, and do you really anticipate him heading east?
I absolutely see him going over to Europe at some point. The development that I've seen in him has really been just the way he sort of, you know, I thought maybe early on the physical aspect was one that he was chasing a little bit, you know, trying to play against the bigger, stronger guys. But what I see in him is the speed and agility that he brings to the table, along with his vision of the field. You know, some of the passes that he's making are just world class. And you can see just with a little taste of what was to come with him as he continues to develop physically, right? I mean, he's still a really young guy, and I think he'll definitely move over. I don't think he's going to be the only one. I think Mackenzie's got a bright future as well. I know Celtic's looking at him pretty seriously. That's just from what I've been seeing on social media. So I think it's a feather in the cap of the Union's academy program to see these guys going over to Europe and playing. I think it's only going to then further the academy, which is only going to make our club stronger as well.
And see, that was the question that I had for you, is the Union is now going to be almost a victim of its own success. They're going to develop these players, and then you have fans that are going to say, why can't we keep them here as opposed to them going abroad? Is there any way that the U.S. can avoid players going to Europe, or is this what's going to be the model? Is the Union, teams like the Union are going to develop these players, have them come up and hopefully get enough notoriety that more people will go there and just keep developing?
Yeah, I think to a certain extent it might be the model. I think you see other clubs. One club that comes to mind is Ajax, which is a big European club, and they're sort of under the same model of developing guys. And you know, the model is the more you develop guys and sell them, the more guys you're going to develop, right? The more people are going to want to come and play the academy. So it may seem in the short term we're victims of our success, but I think if you're looking long term, you know, it's only going to make our academy stronger, and it's only going to then sort of allow us to develop more and more players, you know. So there's not just one Aaronson or Mackenzie. There's multiple Aaronsons and Mackenzies if that becomes sort of the model of the program. So I think that's only going to be a benefit in its own right.
We've had the opportunity to sit with Coach Curtin a few times. We got to talk to him while he was in Orlando from the bubble. Can you talk about the importance of his demeanor with this team? He's weathered some of the criticism in the past to now put the team in this place. Can you talk about his steadiness and how important that is?
That's such a great word too, steadiness, right? Because I think that's what he really brings to the table. Because for you know, the longest time, the fan base was you know, very critical of him. And he sort of just weathered that storm. And he's a Philly guy through and through, right? He gets it. He understands the pressures of you know, what it means to be a head coach in Philadelphia. And, you know, he also knows that when a team's going well, there's no better fan base that's going to support you than the Philadelphia fan base. And, you know, I've had a chance to do some Q&As with him over the quarantine here. And that is the one thing, is he's such a relatable guy. Such a down-to-earth guy, and you can see how that translates to his team as well. You know, he seems like he would just be an absolute great guy to play for.
You talked about the Philly fans. You know, the Sons of Ben are becoming legendary. The fans in Subaru Park are probably one of the best in the league. What's it going to be like when they return, I think the 25th, and there's not going to be any fans there? Is it going to be something that they are going to get past, or is it going to be something that teams like them struggle with not having the fans there?
I mean, I would have to say, from the team standpoint, I think playing in Orlando without fans, has given them sort of the experience of sort of developing their own motivation and not feeding off the fan base. So I don't think it's going to be much of an issue for them. It's heartbreaking to not have fans in the stadium, especially knowing how rabid our fan base can get, and I've been asked, how are you going to get up for a goal call when it's an empty stadium? And my response to that has always been, it's probably going to be the most important goal call that I've ever made, because I literally want to make sure that every Union fan in the Delaware Valley hears me when I make that goal call, because the passion of that first goal call in an empty stadium is trying to capture the passion of every Union fan that's not able to be there and experience it. So I think to some extent, it's going to be the most important one for me.
Well, we can't wait to start seeing those goal calls in person, of course, but we'll definitely look forward to them streaming on Twitter. And, thanks for what you did trying to get people through the pandemic, and wish you great health and continued success. Thanks so much for the time.
All right, guys. Thanks for having me on. Appreciate it.